Captain Marcus Chen had seen many strange things during his 15 years with the Galactic Relief Corps, but nothing quite prepared him for the sight before him in the abandoned mining station on Kepler 442b. Two creatures huddled in the corner of the derelict cargo bay, their scales dulled by malnutrition and exposure to the harsh elements. They were no larger than Great Danes, their wings folded tight against emaciated bodies that should have been twice their current size. Dwarf dragons, a species humanity had only encountered 3 times in all its centuries of space exploration. "Sir, we should maintain distance," Lieutenant Reeves whispered through the comm. "Dragons are unpredictable, even the small ones." Marcus ignored the warning. He'd spent enough time in the outer colonies to recognize desperation when he saw it. These weren't dangerous predators. They were refugees, survivors of whatever catastrophe had befallen this sector. The male dragon raised his head, eyes glowing a faint amber in the darkness. A low rumble emanated from his throat, not a threat, but a warning born of fear. Behind him, the female stirred, and that's when Marcus saw it. Cradled between her forearms was a hatchling no bigger than a house cat, its scales shimmering with an iridescence that its parents had likely once possessed. The baby's eyes weren't even fully open yet. Marcus slowly knelt, setting down his plasma rifle. The universal gesture of peace. "Hey there," he said softly, knowing they wouldn't understand his words but hoping his tone would convey his intentions. "We're here to help." The male dragon's nostrils flared, scenting the air. Marcus could see the conflict in those ancient eyes. Pride warring with pragmatism, fear battling against hope. "Captain, the station's life support is failing," Reeves reported. "We have maybe 4 hours before this section becomes uninhabitable." 4 hours. Marcus looked at the dragons again, really looked at them. The male's wings had tears in the membrane. The female's breathing was labored, each exhale accompanied by a wheeze that spoke of respiratory damage. They were dying, both of them. They had to know it, but the baby was healthy. Marcus reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar. Not ideal dragon food, but it was protein. He broke it in half and tossed it gently toward the male. The dragon sniffed it suspiciously, then consumed it in 2 bites. A moment later, his mate did the same with the second half Marcus offered. "That's it," Marcus murmured. "We're friends." It took another hour of patient waiting before the dragons allowed him within arm's reach. The male never took his eyes off Marcus, every muscle tensed for a fight he clearly didn't have the strength for. But he didn't attack. The female, however, did something that made Marcus's heart clench. She nudged the baby dragon forward with her snout. "No," Marcus breathed. "No, you don't have to." But the female was insistent, pushing her hatchling toward the human. The baby mewled in confusion, trying to return to its mother's warmth. She blocked it with her wing, forcing it toward Marcus. The male dragon made a sound then, a deep, mournful keen that seemed to contain all the grief in the universe. He touched his snout to his mates, a gesture so tender and human-like that Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. They knew. They knew they weren't going to survive, and they were giving their child to him. "Sir, we need to evacuate now," Reeves urged. "The hull integrity is compromising." Marcus made his decision. "Prep the medical bay. Full quarantine protocols. We're taking all 3. Captain, the regulations." "Damn the regulations, Lieutenant." "Prep the medical bay." Marcus moved quickly but carefully, scooping up the baby dragon. It was surprisingly warm, its scales soft where its parents had hardened with age. The little creature chirped anxiously, looking back at its parents. "Come on," Marcus said to the adult dragons, gesturing toward the exit. "All of you. We're getting out of here." But the male dragon shook his head, an eerily human gesture, and settled down beside his mate. They weren't coming. They'd made their choice. Every ounce of their remaining strength had gone into keeping their baby alive until help arrived. There was nothing left for themselves. "Captain," Reeves's voice was sharp with urgency. The station shuddered, and somewhere in the distance metal screamed as it tore. Marcus looked at the dragons one last time. The female had closed her eyes, her breathing shallow. The male watched Marcus with an expression that transcended species, a parent's final request. "Take care of our child." Marcus nodded, holding the baby dragon close to his chest. "I will, I swear it." He ran. The station collapsed 12 minutes after their shuttle cleared the debris field. Marcus stood at the viewport, the baby dragon wrapped in thermal blankets and sleeping peacefully in his arms, and watched the structure crumble into dust and darkness. They were royalty, You know, Dr. Yates said, reviewing the genetic scan results. This little one is from one of the oldest dragon bloodlines in the galaxy. Worth a fortune on the black market. She's not for sale, Marcus said firmly. The baby, he'd already started thinking of her as Ember, stirred at his voice and made a contented sound. Of course not, Captain. I was merely observing, Yates smiled. You realize you've just adopted the most dangerous predator known to xenobiology? Marcus looked down at Ember, at her tiny claws and the way she instinctively curled against his warmth. He thought of two desperate parents in a dying station, making the hardest choice any being could make. No, he said quietly. I've been given a gift, and I'm going to make damn sure I'm worthy of it. Ember opened her eyes then, brilliant gold like the dawn of a new star, and Marcus knew that humanity had just gained something precious. Not a weapon, not a prize, but a bridge between worlds, a promise kept in the darkness of space where hope had seemed impossible. And that, he thought, was the most human thing of all.